Hi everyone, my name is Cynthia. Let's talk books, and today is Tag Tuesday. And look at this, I'm actually doing a tag on Tag Tuesday. So I'm doing the spoiler tag. Courtney Farrader tagged me. I will link her video down below, and if you haven't checked out her channel, I really think you should. She's a professor of literature, and I just love the insights that she brings to all of her fiction and literature reading. I think she is amazing, so go check her out. The originators of the tag were Gunpowder Fiction and Plot. I will link their original video down below as well. And let's get to it, because I think I have some rather controversial opinions on spoilers, and I'm happy to let you all tell me that I'm wrong. So question number one, what do you consider a spoiler? Honestly, I do tend to have a broad definition of this. A spoiler can be anything that reveals any plot point or character point that's a key element of the story. And it literally can be a character, about a character, it can be plot, it can be setting, it just depends on the book itself. But I have to acknowledge that when it comes to spoilers, a wider definition has to be taken into account. Question number two is, does the genre you're reading impact what you consider to be a spoiler? Yes, absolutely. Because, for example, I read a lot of romance, and romance is your guarantee. In order for a book to be considered a romance, it has to have a happily ever after or a happily for now. If it doesn't have that, it's not a romance. And so the ending is a given in every single romance novel. If it is not, I will be very angry, because it means the book was sold as a romance and it is not. As opposed to thrillers. Thrillers, I think, really do live and die by the twist at the end. If the twist at the end doesn't work, or it's not, it's not good, then that's not going to be a good book. And so I feel like in a romance novel, like, I know what the ending is going to be. In a thriller, not so much, and maybe I might not want to know. Right? In cozy mysteries, the ending is a given, that the crime will be solved. That's the expectation going in. Literary fiction, though, no, anything goes, right? You don't expect a particular kind of ending, right? So I do think genre can matter. Question number three is, all the best bits are in the trailer. Sometimes a synopsis can be too detailed. Do you research books prior to reading them, or do you go in blind? And I go in blind. Mostly because I don't need much to get me interested in a book. All I need is like a little bit of what the setup is, the premise, and that's all I need. Or sometimes I don't even need that. I just need somebody whose reading taste I trust to tell me that a book is good, or that they loved a book, and I know that I'm gonna want to read it. And I that's all I need, and so I don't necessarily need to go seek out any more than that. On the other hand, I have to tell you that I don't mind book descriptions that are spoilery. I just don't. I really don't think that a book description, like a trailer that reveals too much, is actually going to turn off people from watching it. I think if anything at all, is more likely to make people watch. So I've read studies of spoilers, okay, because this is something I've given thought to. Most of the studies I've read, though, have been studies of spoiler in TV and film. And what the studies show is that spoilers do not diminish audience enjoyment for the most part. For a majority of the audience, knowing a spoiler will not diminish. In fact, it will actually enhance. It's more likely to enhance your enjoyment of the film or TV show, because it makes you feel like you're in the in crowd, knowing what's going to happen. That's for film and TV, though. I do think that the medium of books is a little bit different, and I think that readers can be much more snobby than TV or film watchers, even though there's going to be a lot of overlap. But readers can be a lot more snobby about spoilers in books. Getting into some hot water here, I can feel it. Question number 4 is sometimes the introduction or translator notes can spoil the ending, especially for classics. Has this ever happened to you? Yes. In fact, I was just looking for the book. I'm about to teach the Ramayana. And the first time I read that book, I was using it for a class. And the introduction tells you everything. Every major plot point is told in the introduction and dissected to some extent. That's not a bad thing though. I felt like at first I was so scared. I was like, the kids are gonna know everything, and then I was like, no, you need to know the plot of that book in order to pay attention to some of the more interesting things that are happening in the book instead of worrying about what's gonna happen. And I think that's true of most classics because they need some setup. Right? Because they were written in a time period that's not our own, and so there's a need to understand the time period, the author, and I don't think that ruins the book at all. I know people will disagree with that as well. Question number 5 is name a time somebody spoiled a novel for you. And I seriously can't think of a single time anybody spoiled a novel for me, or that I would be mad about it. I would never get angry at anybody for spoiling a book for me because I just don't think like that. I don't, even though I can be very plot driven, I don't think telling me the plot of a book is going to ruin it for me. A good book will work because of the writing and not just because of a plot point. In fact, I have to say, there are times when I've sought spoilers. I have read thrillers where like the author was just too good at building up tension, and I can feel myself being anxious. Like I can tell that I am getting anxious reading this book, and so I will actually look up spoilers. Like I'll go on Goodreads and specifically look up people that have, tagged their review as spoilery, or I will Google the new title of the book and spoiler, because it reassures me that there will be a satisfying ending and that all the tension and anxiety that I'm physically feeling is worth it. So I will seek out spoilers in certain books. I don't need to seek them out, but in high tension books that make me feel anxious, I'll do it. Okay. Question number 6. Have you ever spoiled a novel for somebody else? Yes, inadvertently. So Donald Scott, I am so sorry, but they called me out in a video in which I said something about the Southern Book Club's Guide to Killing Vampires, and they felt that it was spoilery. I don't think I ruined it for them, but because they had read the book, they thought I was spoiling something for readers' videos, but I did feel bad about that. It is never my intention to spoil things, especially because I know that really matters for some readers, and as a reviewer, I do think it's something that I need to pay attention to and that I do try to pay attention to. Question number 7 is, if spoilers ruin novels, are there some authors or genres you can't reread? And again, I don't think spoilers ruin novels at all. But I'm not good. I'm not a good rereader. I very rarely reread books, but the ones I do are like Jane Austen. I have no problem reading. Agatha Christie. I recently mentioned that I do reread some Agatha Christie. My 2 favorite books of hers are And Then There Were None and The ABC Murders. And I have read them and reread them, kind of knowing that, what the solution is, and it doesn't ruin it for me because those books, I don't think, live and die by the revelation. I think she is just so good at building tension that even when I know some of what's coming, I am still there with her, feeling the emotions as she has, written them. And so I don't think spoilers ruin novels at all. Feel free to disagree with me. Question number 8 is, when reviewing, are you spoiler free? Does this limit your ability to discuss? And as a reviewer, I do, and because I know so many readers do not like spoilers, I do try to review spoiler free. It can limit the review of a book, but most of the time it does not. One book that it did kind of limit me was in reviewing Mexican Gothic, because most of the plot in that book happens in the last bit of it. And you can't you can't even dissect what's happening there without revealing plot points. And there's so much to dissect in that ending, like layers and layers. It's so rich at the end, but I didn't want to spoil it for anybody. So in my review of Mexican Gothic, I just left out a lot of that. But I was still able to talk about themes and provide hopefully what I thought was a good review of that book, without revealing any of those plot points at the end. With classics, even with classics, I now try to review spoiler free. But on those, it's mostly because students tend to look up reviews of classics. And as a professor, I don't want to make it easy for a student to take a quiz or an exam on a book without having read the book. And so I tend to leave a lot of the plot out of my reviewing and instead focus on themes without getting into a ton of specific plot points. Hopefully that makes sense. So yeah. Again, I will sometimes seek out spoilers. I don't think spoilers are a bad thing. I don't think they ruin books, and I think readers need to be less snobby about it. But I do, in my reviewing, tend to not want to spoil people, and if I do, I tend to warn people that there's going to be a spoiler coming, because I do respect everyone who doesn't want to be spoiled on a book. So feel free to still yell at me down below about how bad spoilers are. Question number 9 is do shoutouts. Tell us 5 channels you enjoy and then tag them. So I'm going to tell you about some channels that I really love and enjoy, but I'm not going to tag them. I'm going to let them decide if they want to do the tag or not. But one channel that I really want to make sure to talk about is Alba's channel. The channel name is Seriela. She lives in Puerto Rico, and she reviews a lot of Puerto Rican books. So books set in Puerto Rico, but books dealing with Puerto Rican history. And she just does a really good job about highlighting books that not everyone else is talking about. And in fact, a lot of the books she sometimes talks about are hard to track down in the US, but I enjoy looking for them, tracking them down. So I'll link her channel down below. Please check it out. Another channel that I really like is Andrea over at Book Ramble, and her videos are excellent, by the way. But I also really enjoy her Instagram. She is a film critic, writer. I was like, she's more than like a film buff. She's amazing. She runs a website called Film Chisme. I will link it down below. And she's been doing the independent film circuit lately, and it's been really fun to watch her do that on Instagram. And on her BookTube channel, she talks a lot about Latinx books, some that are some that are not being talked about by everyone else, and I really enjoy her content on all the different mediums. I also want to make sure and shout out Didi over at Brown Girl Reading. If you're not following her, what are you doing? Oh my goodness, she runs the Read So Lit Readathon that's happening all year long. And every month she picks out a book written by a Black author dealing with Black history. And every single one of the books she's picked out, I have really enjoyed. And it's also books that cover not just like the Black experience in the US, but in the UK, in different African countries. It's just, I love that readathon, and I love all the work that she puts into her channel, into her Instagram. She often invites authors to come in and talk about the book that they've written and the writing process. I just love everything Didi does. Lately, I've also been watching Brianna's channel, which is Radreads, and somebody who talks about books that are not being talked about by everybody else, and challenges you to really think more radically. And I just love their channel, love, and love all the books that they talk about. I love their Instagram as well, because along with talking about a lot of radical Black thinkers, they also make sure and share when there are important GoFundMes and mutual aids, places to go and donate money. You can find on their channel, and I think they're amazing. And then two other people that probably two of the people that I mentioned the most on my channel are Shannon over at thatsopo, who I just love because she reads so critically that she challenges me to really think critically about the books that I'm reading and to not be afraid to DNF books. She's one of my DNF cheerleaders, and I really need that this year. So Shannon, if you want to do this tag, feel free, but you're under no obligation. And then Costin over at Always Doing, who, like, she and I have talked about the fact that we could trade Kindles and we would be perfectly happy because her reading is just so similar. She reads romance, she reads nonfiction, and a lot of like medical nonfiction books. I love reading her take on all of that because she's worked in medical translation, and so her perspectives are always really great on those. So Cousin, I know you already have a long list of tags to do, so feel free to ignore this one. But that's it. Feel free to leave me all your thoughts on spoilers down below. Again, feel free to yell at me and tell me that spoilers do matter. And I do take into account everybody's opinions on spoilers. As somebody who reviews books publicly, I feel like I have to. So even if I don't think spoilers are a big deal and don't ruin books, I know they do for other people. So let's have a chat down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.